Right now in New South Wales, there are homes being sold at public auction because the owners could not pay their council rates. Concerned, not because they missed a mortgage payment, not because a bank came knocking, because of unpaid council rates. In the Hawkesbury region alone, 19 properties were put on notice for sale in the Government Gazette this year, with a public auction date set for the end of June. And in Queensland, the Sunshine Coast Council has been working through a list of 26 properties with combined unpaid rates topping $424,000. Serious. If you are on the age pension or getting close to it, this is something you need to understand today, because the two issues, a reduced pension payment and a council rates debt, are more connected than most people realise. Welcome back to Centrelink Pension Bulletin. Today we are going to walk through exactly why your pension might be lower than you expected and why councils across Australia are now taking the serious step of selling homes over unpaid rates. We will go through it slowly in plain language so you know exactly where you stand and, more importantly, what you can do about it. Let's start with the pension side of things, because this is where most of the confusion begins. As of the March 2026 update, the full age pension sits at $1,290.90 a fortnight for a single person. That works out to a little over $31,000 a year. For couples, it is $905.20 each per fortnight. These figures include the basic pension, the pension supplement, and the energy supplement all rolled together. But here is the thing. Very few people actually sit right at that full rate forever. Your payment moves depending on two separate tests, the income test and the assets test. Whichever test gives you the lower payment is the one Centrelink actually uses. Now, a lot of viewers write to us asking, why did my payments suddenly drop when nothing in my life changed? And often the answer is deeming rates. Here is a fact that surprises a lot of people. Even if your bank account is just sitting there earning very little real interest, Centrelink assumes or deems that your savings and investments are earning a set rate of return. As of this year, the lower deeming rate is 1.25% and the upper deeming rate is 3.25%. After a long freeze on these rates, they have started moving again, and for people with meaningful savings outside the family home, this deemed income can quietly push your payment down, even though your actual bank interest might be much lower. So if your pension dropped and you are wondering why, deeming is one of the very first places to look. But there is something else going on, something bigger, and honestly, something that does not get nearly enough attention. Across the country, local councils are increasingly turning to a legal power they have always had, but rarely use this aggressively. The power to sell your home if rates go unpaid for long enough. Let that sink in for a moment. This is not a bank foreclosure. This is your local council, the same one that collects your bin fees and fixes the potholes using state law to force the sale of a property. In New South Wales, this power comes from sections 713 and 715 of the Local Government Act. Under this law, if rates and charges remain unpaid for more than 5 years and the council has made genuine attempts to recover the debt, it can resolve to sell the property at public auction. In Queensland, the threshold is even shorter. Councils there can begin the sale process after rates have gone unpaid for as little as 3 years. Think about that difference for a moment. 3 years. That is not a long time when you consider how life can change quickly in retirement, a health scare, a partner passing away, a sudden drop in income. Any of these can mean rates quietly pile up in the background while you are focused on far more pressing things. Now, I want to pause here because I know this might feel alarming, but stick with me, because understanding exactly how this works is what protects you. Councils describe this as an absolute last resort, and in most cases that really is true. Take Kempsey Shire Council in New South Wales as an example. In one recent round of forced auctions, Council records show that out of 27 properties originally listed, several were removed from the list before the auction even happened, simply because the owners made contact and worked out a payment arrangement. That detail matters enormously. Communication with your council, even a simple phone call, can be the difference between losing your home and quietly resolving the debt. Here's something else worth knowing. Rates and charges under this law are treated as a debt against the property itself, not just a personal debt against you. That means the debt follows the land. It does not simply disappear if it is ignored, and it does not go away when a property changes hands without being settled first. So now you might be asking, how does someone end up 5 years or even 3 years behind on rates in the first place? Surely people notice a bill sitting unpaid for that long. In many cases, yes, people do notice, but there is a group of pensioners this hits particularly hard, and it might be a group you or someone you love falls into, people who are asset rich but cash poor. This describes so many older Australians. You might own your home outright, mortgage-free, built up over decades of hard work. On paper, that looks like real wealth. But if your fortnightly income is limited to the age pension and perhaps a small amount of savings, there may simply not be enough spare cash each quarter to comfortably cover rising council rates, especially as property values and therefore rate bills continue to climb in many parts of the country. This is not a fringe issue either. It is becoming a genuine talking point in housing and retirement policy circles, precisely because so many pensioners are finding themselves squeezed between a fixed income and rising local government charges. So here is the part of this video that matters most. What can you actually do if you are worried about falling behind or if you are already behind? First, and this is critical, do not go silent. Councils repeatedly state that their sale processes only proceed when ratepayers cannot be reached or refuse to engage. If you contact your council early, most have hardship policies specifically designed for pensioners. Second, ask specifically about a pensioner concession rebate. If you hold a valid pensioner concession card or receive certain other payments, many councils will automatically reduce your rates bill. This is not automatic everywhere though, so it is worth confirming your rebate is actually being applied to your account. Third, ask about a formal payment plan. Councils generally have the ability to set up structured repayment arrangements, sometimes spread over an extended period, so the debt becomes manageable rather than overwhelming. Fourth, and this one surprises people, ask about postponing rates altogether. In several states, older homeowners in genuine hardship can apply to have rates deferred, meaning the amount is only recovered later, often when the property is eventually sold or passes to an estate. This can be an enormous relief for someone who is asset rich but cash poor, because it takes the pressure off your fortnightly budget right now. Now let's bring this back to the pension side of the conversation, because there is an important connection here that is easy to miss. The family home you live in is generally exempt from the age pension assets test for as long as it remains your principal place of residence. That is genuinely good news, and it is one of the more protective features of the pension system. But if you are ever forced to sell that home, whether that is a voluntary downsizing decision or, in the worst case scenario, a forced sale over unpaid rates, the proceeds from that sale can suddenly become assessable. If you use the money to buy another home, current rules allow the funds you intend to spend on the new principal residence to be deemed at the lower rate, currently 1.25%, for a set period while you sort out your next living arrangement. But any leftover funds sitting in savings can be deemed at the regular rates, which may reduce your pension further. In other words, a rates problem can create a pension problem, which can then compound the very financial pressure that caused the rates issue in the first place. It is a cycle, and the earlier you interrupt it, the better.
Here's a question worth sitting with for a moment. If your rates notice arrived tomorrow, would you know exactly who to call at your council if you were struggling to pay it? Not eventually, today. Because that one phone call, made early, is genuinely the single biggest factor separating people who resolve this quietly from those who end up on a government gazette notice. I also want to gently mention something many of our viewers do not realise. Rules around income and asset thresholds are reviewed twice a year, in March and September. Thresholds do tend to move upward over time, which can occasionally mean people who previously missed out on any pension because their assets were just slightly too high may become eligible for a part pension after an update. If you were told years ago that you did not qualify, it is genuinely worth checking again because the goalposts do shift. So to bring all of this together, your pension can move because of deeming rate changes, because of income or asset test thresholds shifting, or because your personal circumstances have changed. Separately, and just as seriously, councils across Australia do have real legal power to sell a home over unpaid rates, and this is happening in real communities right now in 2026. The two issues connect most sharply when a forced sale, or even a voluntary one, turns your home equity into assessable savings that can affect your pension going forward. The good news, and there genuinely is good news here, is that almost every single one of these problems has an early solution. Pension reviews, rebate applications, hardship provisions, and payment plans exist precisely so that people do not lose their homes and do not lose pension entitlements they are rightfully owed. If this video helped make sense of something that has been worrying you, please give it a thumbs up. It genuinely helps this information reach more pensioners who need to hear it. And if you have not already, subscribe to Centrelink Pension Bulletin because we cover these updates as they happen, not months later. I would also love to hear from you directly in the comments. Have you dealt with a council hardship arrangement or noticed changes to your own pension payment recently? Your experience might be exactly what helps someone else watching this video today. In our next video, we are going to break down exactly how the assets test thresholds work, item by item, so you can work out precisely where you stand and whether you might be entitled to more than you are currently receiving. Take care of yourselves, look after your paperwork, and I will see you in the next one.